for those who can't. Okay, and I got that. Okay, good. So hopefully some very practical ideas that you can do yourself. I learned over the years, classical packaged goods, branding and marketing techniques. And I learned how to, employ those myself, my own companies and, working with startup and growth stage companies. So I've got a little presentation with some real world examples. So how we go from kind of strategy all the way to final design. And we're not going to talk too much about marketing tactics today, but it's really about the brand and your communication. So I'm going to share the screen and take you through it. The presentation will probably last, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 minutes, and then plenty of time for any kind of discussion, okay? And get going on that. Let me see here. I got to pull this up first. It's here somewhere. Okay, let me see. Sorry about the technical delay. Okay, and don't get dizzy. Okay, can you see this? Everybody see this okay? Okay, so anyway, again, helpful tools to improve your brand, practical tools, like I just mentioned, exercises and ideas that I've developed over time. So today we're going to talk about brand positioning. What is brand positioning? And then there's a really interesting technique called benefit laddering that you can do yourself. I'll explain how that gets done. And then there's a concept in branding and marketing called perceptual mapping. And this is real interesting, and it's really a hands-on exercise. And again, using your like a team to help you with this, but again, something you can actually do yourselves. Then we'll talk about naming and trademark research and protection. And this is something that many of my clients over the years have pretty much ignored, the trademark research and protection. And this is really critical. And it's so important, once you have a brand name or a direction, to really delve into it and just get an idea of the risk that might be involved or, the opportunity for yourselves to protect. And then I want to show you another example about positioning and how we get to brand design. Okay, so let's talk about positioning really quick. And the first thing I want to mention here on positioning is it's not about you so much. It's really about how your customer sees you and how you have defined yourself and your brand to create an opportunity in the consumer's mind. So brands are determined by what we call their unique selling proposition. You may have heard this before, the USP, but really what this is about is just being different and interesting. It is about competitive advantage, finding space in the consumer's mind that you can position yourselves that is different, that provides a durable and lasting interpretation of who you are. And most importantly, and the exercise I want to go through here with you is how you can convert your core features to meaningful benefits. And the benefits that's what you need. And that benefit needs to resonate with the consumer or your customer. So, that'll determine your success, your potential success. So I'm going to take you through an example here. This is Cafe Spice. Actually, they're a New York-based company. I had the opportunity to meet these folks several years ago. They're an Indian couple, and they had launched a brand called Cafe Spice. These are prepared meals, grab and go. They started off in just regionally, locally, and they're very authentic Indian meals. But as you can see with this old picture here, the branding really wasn't that strong. So if you look here, you see Cafe Spice in this white lettering. It really just dissipates in the cold box here. You've got a lot of design elements, but it's really unclear what the product actually is. And again, it's very important to stand out on the shelf immediately if you want to increase your rates of trial and repeat business. So here's the first exercise that I want to share with you. It's called benefit laddering, and it's a very simple technique that ladders brand features up, up, and up. And I'll get into what that means, but into more meaningful and emotional benefits. So it converts features into benefits. So you start with your brand's core strengths and capabilities. So let me stop right there. So one exercise that I always recommend is that you actually assess what your strengths and capabilities are. But you have to be careful about this. This just can't be what you think. It really needs to come from more of a consumer or customer perspective. So as you develop your brand, I encourage you to gather some like distribution partners, some current customers if you have them, or friends that can represent kind of a consumer orientation, like a consumer need. They can be objective and they can put their consumer hats on. So you assemble this team and you just ask, what do we do best? What are our strengths? What are our capabilities? And when you go through this exercise, you write them down, put them on a flip chart or whatever, but really push yourselves. Are they real strengths? Are they real capabilities? And go beyond just production or some of the operational strengths or capabilities you have, but what is it about your brand or your product that really has a strength or a capability? So once you have those, then just jot them down. And as we do this exercise, what we like to do is focus on maybe those key strengths and capabilities. So once you do that, you ask, what does this particular strength or capability do best? What does it do best? And there's going to be an answer, and somebody's, your group's is gonna volunteer an answer. Then what you want to do is just keep asking, why is that important? And as you keep asking that question and you get another answer, you're going up this ladder. And what typically happens is you get beyond, like physiological benefits, that are just only product oriented into more emotional benefit territory. So here's an example. And there's a lot here on this slide, but I'll distill it down on the next one. So with Cafe Spice, we sat down and we identified, what are your core strengths and capabilities relating to the product, to the brand that you already have. So here's an example. Let's just start right here. So one of the words that we thought was really interesting, that had potential to ladder up, was the word exotic. So why is that important? Well, it transports you to a different place. It's not ordinary. It's not here. It's someplace new. It's vibrant and lively. It's maybe warm or tropical. It's fun, full of life. And as we keep going up, we get into some really more emotional territory. So it's like a vacation. I mean, it's like, you purchase one of these meals and all of a sudden you're in in New Delhi and you're on a vacation. You're eating authentic Indian food. And why is that important? Because it really stimulates my senses. It's very creative for me. I become creative. It inspires me, and it's life enriching. So as we go up here, we get into really high level benefit territory. We get all the way up here. You could aspire to do more as a result of this. And you get into, really high benefit territory. Like, it just makes me better. I'm better. And we actually call that the BS zone because it's really too far up there. So we like to focus a little bit lower as we start to create the brand's positioning. So if we just distilled it down, let's just take that one path, for example, and this is the one that really resonated most for all of us. We start with a core feature, exotic, and it becomes vibrant and lively. And as we go up, these words are really important, and words have meaning. So vibrant and lively, for example, that can translate into design, into colors, into direction for creative development. And as we keep going up, it's a vacation. And what we determined was life enriching was really the brand benefit and something for Cafe Spice to focus on as we develop their brand story and also their creative direction. So, once you have that positioning, that basic positioning of features to benefits, then you're pretty much able to kind of draft your positioning statement, which can also become your brand story and also inspiration for your tagline, maybe an abbreviated version of your brand story for the tagline. So, this is what we came up with. Welcome to Cafe Spice, a collection of exciting culinary inspirations from around the world. From our roots in India to distant country shores, we have pursued our passion for authentic food that's spirited, savory, and artistic, unique creations from unusual, faraway places. Now we'd like to share these discoveries with you and take you to new destinations. Cafe Spice, a taste experience that will add spice and richness to your life. So again, the brand benefit, basically the whole path to get there. And this is their story. You can abbreviate this to put it on the back of your packaging. Obviously space is at a premium. And then, how do you come up with maybe a tagline? I'd like to do is base it off of your positioning. So here we are, Cafe Spice, spice up your life. All right, so once we have the positioning, as we start to extend that into, creative development, one tool that I think is really valuable is to capture that positioning in imagery. So go to the internet, start searching, enrich your life, start searching vibrant colors, maybe, Indian, in their case, for example, in your case, it'll be different. And capture those images because, once you start creative design, having these images in advance, really shortens the process and it makes everything more cost effective. And, we all are very visually oriented, and so is your designer. So this is something that we worked hard on. We pulled up, for example, up here, star anise. In India, paisley is very important as a design in fabrics and in apparel, and just capturing all this really makes it a lot easier for your designer. So you saw the original packaging. This is what we came up with. And as you can see here, instead of having a white word mark that just dissipated into the packaging and onto the shelf, we came up with this unique paperboard sleeve, obviously showing the product still, which is very important as you create brands. Beautiful black yellow background so that the black typography stands out. And then also just how do we differentiate between products? So what we took here was kind of a lotus flower pattern, as you can see right here, and we created all these vibrant colors to communicate the individual product SKUs. And you can see here, for example, with these products all stacked together, just how vibrant they really are. Okay, and now for shelf impact, you can see what it looks like now in a refrigerator section. And the packaging just it really resonates. And as a result of this packaging, Cafe Spice is now distributed nationally. They're in all of the natural grocers here in Colorado, and also in their in their whole distribution system. And they have like 200 stores west of the Mississippi. They're also in Whole Foods and several other regional chains on the East Coast. So that was all because of good packaging. And what good packaging does, it gives you shelf impact, and it improves your brand image, and increases your opportunity for trial. So just a couple of thoughts here for you as you consider packaging. Um, well-designed packaging increases impulse sales. Okay, impulse sales are those initial sales, those trial sales, increases your trial rates. And here's a rule of thumb, it's a general rule of thumb, that overall about 20% of a brand's sales is initial trial, and 80%, while 80% is repeat business. So as you develop your brand, going forward, always focus on increasing your trial to get consumers into your brand, because once you do that, you have an opportunity to convert them to repeat customers, and that's where your business is going to be, and that's what drives your sales. Okay, I'm going to just take a little break right now so that I can have a glass of water. And we can ask a couple questions right now if something like this makes any sense to you, and if this is something that might help you as you develop your brand on your own.
Sure, I have a question.
Yeah, sure, Nicole.
Our beef is processed at another facility, and we don't really have a whole lot of say on how the look of the packaging comes out. Do you have any ideas on that? Are you familiar with how beef is packaged from a USDA inspected facility?
Yeah, it's funny. We worked with a company called Malay's Sausage. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Again, they're in all natural grocers, and there are a few other grocery chains. So they work with a packer, with a processor, but they do have some packaging flexibility. Do you have like labeling flexibility? What type of packaging do you have?
So the processor can put our logo on the packaging. So that is a cost. We don't have to, because we were buying our own labels,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just an extra cost for us. But our current processor, which we're part owners in, we can put our own label on there, but we're limited to black and white and just having our logo at the top.
Yeah, and you're selling direct to consumers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's that it is what it is. I mean, it's a lot of this, a lot of what we're talking about right here is more for through distribution systems, and through trade channels with some flexibility. But your branding is also communicated other ways too, right? Through your website, through social media, through the experience. If consumers come direct to you, or whatever. But um, that can hold you back a little bit. But there's additional cost if you want to do more, I would imagine. So that's something you just got to look into cost wise, I guess, huh?
Yeah, and another question I had, I did have a couple stores that were interested in selling our product, but we have to have some kind of barcode or SKU numbers put on our label, and that wasn't something our processor could do. So is there other things we can do to add that?
Yeah, is that another label sticker like a UPC?
I guess I'm not familiar with
Yeah.
retail in
Yeah.
stores, so I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Well, there are some requirements once you get into distribution through, within trade channels like direct to stores or through a distributor. You're definitely going to need a UPC, right? Um,
Mhm.
there's also the nutritional facts statement. You're not required to have that up until a certain level of volume. So, but you still need to publish your ingredients and anything else that's important, like your USDA, the bug, on your packaging. And there are
Mhm.
other requirements too. I would say, which could be helpful for you is look competitively, look at other products, look at other companies that are selling direct to consumers who are in a growth stage that they're now beginning to sell to retail.
Mhm.
But you're going to need some things, but not everything. And what's really important, I always advise my clients, is take the risk out, grow slowly, prove the proposition before you get to the next level. Yeah, because what we don't want you to do is go out and spend a lot of money, you know, you know, and burn through cash flow wise and not get anywhere. Just take it
Right.
step by step.
Very good. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Okay, I'm going to get right back to this and show you a couple of other things, and then we can get into some more discussion. And Barb's going to prompt me because there's others that want to be watching this online later on. So here we go again. Share screen.
I was curious though, sorry to
Oh,
sidetrack, but on the visual appearance, especially retail thinking, that's a lot to even just get into the basket of the shopper, right? I mean, I know when I go to the grocery store and you see something new, it's a nice package or something that's very expressive. Does that help when someone is taking their brand to retail and talking to them about how to fit it on the shelf or?
yeah, it's really important if you're going to go talk to buyers and merchandisers, to really have your act together.
Mhm.
Because, and I having been through this several times on my own and with clients and with the contacts that I have in the grocery business, you don't get a lot of time. You
Yeah.
really have to strike a nerve, just like with consumers, but with the trade as well. And it's got to communicate something. And not only that, the product's got to be different. Your trade practices and your promotional efforts have to be different. So again, start slow, build your brand. You know, just think about it in terms of what trade channels are available to you. Most of the clients that I work with, they start slow. It's direct to consumer. Maybe it's online sales, maybe it's farmers markets. That's a big one, and that's really important. And then, once you get some traction, you get some, feedback from consumers, you get some repeat sales, you feel like you're on, the path, then you just take the next step. But yeah, good question, Barb.
Good advice.
Okay, I'm going to go back again here. Let's see. And gosh, sorry about that. I don't know why I'm so confused today. Share screen.
Because Zoom isn't always user like easy to use. It's not intuitive sometimes.
I'm actually I'm actually pretty technologically savvy, but yeah, it's
Oh, for sure, but sometimes
all right. So can you Barb, can you see my screen?
looks perfect.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure. Okay, so here is an Arvada-based company. It's Grandma's Frozen Noodles. Boy, they've been in business since the 60s, over 50 years. And they make an authentic noodle, made with eggs and flour. And they do it the old-fashioned way, just like the way they make these noodles, like in Italy, for example. They're bronze drawn, it's a bronze drawn process. But here's the packaging that they had for years, and it's dated, it's confusing, and as you can see here, it doesn't show the product. And you're in a freezer section in, let's say, Kroger, King Supers or City Market. And boy, you need to make an immediate impact through those glass doors. So, they have a following. They've done well over the years, but the brand was losing traction. And, is mostly because of this packaging. So we started working with them. And one of the tools that we like to use um, with our clients is to help them determine their market positioning and also how they can elevate themselves, their brand. And we do this thing called is perceptual mapping. And what a perceptual map is, and I'll explain to you how you can do it very easily, a little differently. It's a segmentation diagram that illustrates the position of a product along its competitors on certain parameters. And it's very useful to help you understand market segments or to identify gaps in the category that aren't being fulfilled by your competitors or other types of products. It'll help you enhance your brand image, like I just mentioned. It'll help you also plan new brands and products. And for Grandma's Frozen Noodles, we really use it to reposition their existing brand. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what this is all about. And again, this is something I don't want to go over, spend too much time on this, but I do want to tell you what the flow is and how it works. And it's really easy. But again, you'll have access to this presentation and, you'll be able to, refer to this. But the way it works is it's actually pretty simple. When we work with clients, what we try to do is take them into some grocery stores, and we walk the aisles. We look at products. We look at brands, and not only just in their specific competitive set, like for example with Grandma's Frozen Noodles, the frozen pasta section, but we look broadly. And we ask our clients, to consider packaging that also appeals to your vision of what your brand might be. Any kind of packaging that resonates to you. Then we say, hey, purchase some of these actual products. Bring them back to the office. But the other thing is you can also just use packaging pictures of competitors that you gather online. So I know there is a cost obviously to buying a lot of competitive products, but it's really important because this competitive brand sort exercise that I'm going to take you through really is very visual, and it'll really help you understand what the competitive set looks like and also individual brands. Okay, so number 3, remember you already had your team that you were working with to do this brand benefit laddering exercise. Use the same team. Have this as another exercise when you start to sit down with them, but assemble a team that can really provide an unbiased consumer perception input. So here's how you do it. You take those products that you purchased or photos of packaging, competitive packaging that you gathered online, and you put everything in the center of a large table. And that really becomes, that table, a perceptual map. Okay. Then ask the team to sort the products any way they like. And, it's just really wide open. It's just don't give them too much instruction. But really what you want to do is sit back and observe what they do. And what they'll end up doing is placing these brands, these products into certain groups on that table. And that is the map, right? And, often you'll see maybe a product or two all by itself. But observe and note their discussion, the words they use, the thoughts that they have, because, this is how they perceive, that broad category. So when they're done and they can't sort anymore, ask them to name each group, which is a segment. What's the name, the phrase or the one word, 2 words that names this particular group. And then the actual words and phrases that describe it. And you may have to prompt them a little bit, but record everything that they say, all the key words, because when we create brands, we really work within the world of words, and words have meaning, as we just saw, in the benefit laddering exercise. So then ask your team to place your current or planned brand where they think it belongs. So maybe you're just in the, into the initial phase. You don't have a brand, but you have a thought. Still you can do that. If you have a product right now that's halfway there, have them place it where they think it belongs and explore the reasons why they put it where they did and the descriptive words. And I'll show you in a second, what that was like for grandma's frozen noodles. So, in perceptual mapping, you can do it several ways, but typically what your team will probably do is place them in some kind of price categories, which or image categories, and some of that's valuable, some of it's not, right? So you need to repeat the exercise as many times as you can and have them focus on specific values. For example, maybe you want to say, hey, what's the most nutritious? What's the most nutritious? How do we map these based on nutrition? What about sustainable practices, for example? What's premium packaging? I think, those are all important values, but you'll have your own. So have them sort again and again. And as we said before, just keep, recapping the discussion. And then when you're essentially done with all this, kind of determine the direction for your own particular brand development. Look for unmet category needs, space on that map that no brand is already filling. And then consider, some of these consumer meaningful values. Anyway, there's a lot there, but I wanted to show you what actually happened when we did this. So the groups actually came up with 5 different sorting groups, and the words they used were really interesting. So this one up here, top quality. These are pretty good. These are bargain. This is gross. These are their words. This is the words that they mentioned, and of course it's very subjective, as you can see. And here's grandma's current brand, the frozen noodles, and it's just okay. What are the words that describe it? Lower price, but essentially good value. So the the company and the team said, we really want to move the needle here. We want to move towards top quality, because it's not just repackaging the egg noodles in their current configuration, but we have thoughts on extending the product line. We might want to get into prepared meals. And they have, then you got to look at financial considerations, everything, their mission and vision for the brand, but they decided to go, top quality. So when the group defined what the top quality segment was, these are the words they came up with. Truly nutritious ingredients, pasture raised, clean, which is organic, no preservatives. These are their words. The visibility of the product is important. There's nothing to hide. So you can see, the windows and some of this packaging, very important. And this came through over here too. And I only recapped this particular segment because this is the direction they wanted to move in. And also there's a story behind the brand. So this was very important exercise to help them define where they wanted to go. All right, so based on that, we came up with, again, the positioning statement and also a tagline. And this is what we came up with. From Grandma with Love. For over a half century, Grandma's frozen noodles have been a staple in many kitchens. Thick, hearty, and nourishing, our egg pastas are still made the true artisan way, slowly in bronze drawn, using the same methods brought over from the old country. Always made fresh daily with care and love, because that's the way Grandma intended. So, now they've got a story, now they got a positioning, now they have direction for creative development. So this is what we came up with, just based on a couple of those exercises, and they're so valuable. We came up with new packaging that, even though we didn't have a window based on, production capabilities, we did, some very good photography, realistic photography. We showed the egg, we showed the noodles, we actually showed what's inside the packaging, new design system, new logo, bright colors, where everything contrast stands out. And then this was the actual packaging as developed. So they had two different SKUs, two different types, and now they're doing really well. They've been repositioned and they're gaining distribution. Okay. I'll come back to discussion in a little bit, but I want to take you through a new brand, creating a new brand. So this brand, this company that we worked with is Talbot Farms. They're located on the western slope in Palisade, and they've been around for a while. They're a sixth-generation family. They've been farming the Grand Valley for over 100 years, since 1907. They're the state's largest grower of wine grapes and Palisade peaches. They've got over 500 acres in production, and they work with local growers. They're really leaders in the industry, and they provide a lot of value to the local economy. They have a very established reputation and name recognition, and they are truly leaders. They're committed to building brands. Currently, or at the time that we started working with them, they had not just the peaches, but they have Talbot's cider, which is a hard cider, and that has developed some pretty good distribution within the state. But given their strength and their production capabilities, their integration all the way through growing, through processing, they felt that they had a sustainable advantage, and they really wanted to strategically leverage all of that into a vertically integrated, market-driven beverage company, but focusing on wine initially as they began to grow. All right, so we started with the positioning, and this is something I really advise our clients to focus on. Focus on the positioning first. And so often, our clients are really locked into, what do we call ourselves? And they go through lots of iterations of brainstorming. They're looking up words in the dictionary or on, in encyclopedias, trying to find the right brand name. But really, my advice is just hold off on that until you actually have come up with your positioning. And so when we sat down with them, we're looking for uniqueness. What is it about this family, this company, Talbot Farms? But they've been in business for over 100 years. That's a big deal, right? So, what is that? What is 100 years? Well, it's a centennial, right? And not only that, we're the centennial state. So that was a focus area that we worked from. So the positioning statement that from there we came up with a brand name, and as you can see here, our roots run deep. For over 100 years and 6 generations, our family has cultivated wine grapes and fruit in this fertile Grand Valley, where unique terroir aligns perfectly to inspire innovation and superior quality. Centennial Cellars premium wines are entirely estate grown and carefully crafted by our own hands. So it's a nice story, and but it was based on this idea, this authenticity, this heritage of being in business for over 100 years. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, it's really important, once you come up with that name, to really jump on it quickly, to protect yourself, and also to keep yourselves out of potential risk and trouble with others that may have that trademark, especially in your own class of trade. So I want to take you through an example of how you can actually do some of this on your own, as a preliminary step before you may want to involve a patent and trademark, intellectual property attorney. So this is the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website, and I will show you a little bit how to do this. So what's really important, and is obtaining a U.S. trademark. Yes, it's nice to, reserve your name or get a Colorado trademark, but that's not going to get you very far. It'll help give you some protection, but not a lot, especially as you grow out of the state. So these are the international trade classes for goods and services. So for Talbot Farms, um, it's about, it's International Class 33, wines and spirits. So you can see all the other categories here. You'll find, some that might fit with what you guys do. So here, I'm going to take it to the USPTO site here. And I imagine you can still see all this. And this is what it looks like. And what you want to do is go across here in the navigation to trademarks, search our trademark database. So I click there. So this will take you to the what they call the TESS system, the trademark search system. So we're going to click here. And what you do is you just search for words and trademarks, products, or owners up here in this menu bar. So I'm going to type in the word Centennial. I'm going to type in Centennial Cellars. Okay. And what I want to do is actually do an expert search. And I'll show you how this works. So I'm going to click there, and we're going to take you right to all the trademarks that are live over here, that are registered or pending. An application has been submitted, or they might be dead, like they've been canceled by the applicant or abandoned. And trademarks are only good for a certain number of years, and they do need to be renewed. So this is, as you can see right here, 8,176 results for Centennial Cellars. And then what's really going to pop up here are words in combination, Centennial and Cellars. And you can see right away, Centennial Cellars, the brand that we're working on with Talbot Farms that we submitted for an application, has actually been registered. So there's a lot to cut through. So what you really want to do is say, hey, I'm only really interested in live marks. So I'm going to get rid of all these dead ones. Okay, now it just dropped down to 3,748 with words that are Centennial or Cellars. So you can see down here, Cellar, Cellars, so variations. All right, so those are all classes. Those are all products, goods, and services. So let's say, hey, look, we just really want to do International Class 33, which is wines and spirits. Whoops, I think I just hit the wrong one. Wines and spirits. There we go. So now we have 1,744 results for Centennial Cellars. So what you really want to do as you go through here is just look at what is really registered or pending, and that'll help you. So we could throw another, and then you can also look deeper into that particular trademark. You can see when the application filing date was, what the registration date was. You can get more information about the current owners, for example. And it's really important to look at some of this too, because some of these big companies that may have trademarks already registered in your particular international class, they could be as litigious as hell. I mean, they can come right after you. So you got to be really careful about that. Let's see, I'll come back. Let's just take another example, and I'll give you a little story. So I was working with another winery, and it was they wanted to come out with a product called Red Rock, or Red Rocks, one of the two, and also in International Class 33. Okay, and let's see if I can give you I can take you through this a little bit. Red Rock. Let's try Red Rock. Okay, so they had the label already produced. It was ready to go, into their tasting room and into distribution throughout Colorado. And we said, hey, look, have you done some trademark work on this? Okay, Red Rock. And they said no. And we said, hey, look, the first thing that comes up right here is the E&J Gallo Winery. And they're the second largest wine group in the US behind Constellation Brands. And having worked with Gallo in the past, and you see you get another mark over here, um, they have a very large legal department. In fact, when I was working there, their general counsel was Frank Brennan. His brother was Justice Frank Brennan on the U.S. Supreme Court. So having worked with Ernest Gallo over the years, he would spend at least a third of the day working with the attorneys. So if they came out in the market, they would get a cease and desist, and all that money that they spent in terms of packaging and distribution would be a total waste. So again, very important to to do your trademark work and ahead of time. And of course, this is just preliminary. This will help you, but you really need to do a more thorough search. And obviously, when you do decide to file, my recommendation is to actually work through a trademark attorney. Save yourself the agony, because a lot of these marks that are applied, like for example with Centennial Cellars, you typically have to disclaim exclusive use of one of the words. So I'm assuming that they, with Centennial Cellars, I believe the way it worked out, they excluded use of the word seller. So that I think is a very important thing for you to consider is do your homework and look at the trademarks. Okay, I'm going to pull the presentation up again. Okay. All right. So, with the positioning involved and the name actually identified and secured, we started concept development work. And for Centennial Cellars, we focused on some canned wines, which are trending right now. And there's a lot of demand. And so we came up with some different concepts based on that whole idea of being a centennial company over 100 years in business, and also the uniqueness of the Western Slope Palisade geography and terroir. So you can see different concepts here. You can see in some of these we have different types of indigenous flora. For example, we have abstract mountains, all of that. And here's, for example, an abstract visual of what Mount Garfield looks like, which is, the iconic mountain above Palisade. So this is what we actually ended up with. This is the premium canned wine line. And, just really clean, visually striking, graphics that stand out. It's a beautiful color palette. The rosé, for example, with bubbles, we decided to take like a dandelion and kind of recreate that effervescence through the exploding dandelion in the wind. And again, the brand story right here, very important. Nice, clean look. Everything has everything we wanted to communicate based on the positioning. We also came up with a line of wine spritzers, and we wanted to do something different here, more of a fun approach. And we wanted to exaggerate the flavors, right? Or the visual interpretation of the flavors. Now, these spritzers are actually made with real fruit and, wine from their orchards and vineyards. So that's what we wanted to communicate, and we want to do it in a kind of a fun way. So, for example, the peachy keen, we have peaches that are bigger than life, right? And we have interesting typography treatment, very, very unique. As you can see back here, the design system, very consistent, logo in the center, different color variation to communicate the the actual product difference, and then a display font that was kind of cursive-like, very interesting, but all other copy nice and clean. So that was a good project, and it's doing well in the market. Okay, so that's it for some of the work and that we do, and also those tools, those exercises. I think they're really important, that can help you to do it on your own. So you don't have to, feel frustrated and how much money it's going to cost to work with a firm. You can do a lot of this on your own, but as I said, with a trademark, for example, at the right time, engage the right people. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Let's talk. Barb, you have any questions?
I was just curious about the trademarking. When is the right time to consider applying for a trademark for your brand? And how different does the trademark have to be? I imagine it could get a little complicated. You gave that example of Red Rock. If somebody went in there and looked for Red Rocks with an S, maybe it wouldn't come up, but that could get a little complicated, maybe, with a brand.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually working with an Arizona winery client right now, and we went through several iterations of potential naming, and that's really the time to do it. So even in brainstorming, at the point of brainstorming names, start there, because if you get too locked into a particular name and it's not available, then you got to start all over again, right? So I like to do that right up front. Once you get, that positioning down and you've got, an idea of, what you want to call yourself, start there. So, with this Arizona winery client, gosh, we went through like almost a month of brainstorming, and it's a family business, so that we had all kinds of different points of view on, where the naming should be. But we came up with a name, and in this particular class, same class, International Class 33, and there's some potential risk, but only if you did trademark the complete name. So typically, what your trademark attorney will tell you to do is, if there is a problem with a full name, like Centennial Cellars, they'll advise you to exclude, to not apply for exclusive use of one particular word, for example. And the examiner at USPTO in DC, when you submit that application, will recognize that. But that's getting into too much detail. But this process right now for everybody that's listening in on this, you can do that preliminary work yourself by going to uspto.gov. They recently redid their website. It's so easy to use, and I'd recommend it right away.
Great, thank you. Jen, Nicole, any questions or anything you may want to walk through with John for your brand and take advantage of his background?
So I have a question, sort of. Well, so in the first year of branding, I'm just curious about what it might look like, the process. So I haven't been to market. I don't have any customers or anything yet. And I want to play around and maybe try out some different visual things like throughout the first year, but I'm worried like that it needs to be consistent. Like what if I change my name, after the first year? I don't know, maybe like looking at successful brands, how they evolve over, the first year to 5 years, or what your experience is with seeing that evolution.
Yeah, sure. You have an urban garden, your own urban garden, right?
Yep.
And you're going to be growing what, produce, I guess, produce or
Flowers and vegetables.
okay, flowers and vegetables. Okay. Again, you're just starting up, right?
Right.
So it's an evolutionary process. I wouldn't worry too much about the future right now. I think, and then as far as your packaging, which is going to be primarily what, just a tag or something
Yeah.
simple, maybe a farmer's
Labels.
market sign or something like that, or will you be at the Arvada Farmers Market downtown or?
Um, I did apply for Arvada and Golden Farmers Market.
Good.
I'm not sure if I'm going to get in yet.
Yeah, those are good ones. And the fact, the Arvada one, I'm very familiar with. My daughter lives in Arvada, and we go there like on Saturdays, and it's a good one. And what you have going for you is you're local. You're as local as they get, right? So I think that's a good positioning opportunity for you. So when you look at like a brand name, I would focus there. You might want to just start with, Arvada and Golden, and you're local right there. You're right in between, you're so I wouldn't worry too much about, what happens down the road. Um, and you're in a category or an area, as especially in produce, where you're not under the microscope. You're not into like worrying about like a national trademark and the risk involved. So I would just think about who you are, what you do best, do some brainstorming, and really focus on that local thing. So, and then, your imagery is going to evolve over time. You're going to have like tags on your products, whether it's a tag on a rubber band, and around a bunch of rainbow chard or something like that. You're going to probably want to have some kind of web or social media presence, and you can change and evolve that as you go. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. What I would recommend, and for everybody, is really do that kind of that SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, strengths. But if you're really focusing on your brand name and your positioning, focus on strengths and capabilities. Okay. Because those are the words that have meanings that you can leverage into benefits or brand name.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any more questions, Barb? Maybe from the broader perspective of packaged goods, supply chain or anything like that.
Well, I think it was interesting what Nicole brought up about maybe people in a kind of a custom field. If what kind of capabilities, or are there resources that people in the beef community, animal protein community could be tapping into in order to think about how to do their packaging? Because although I'm not sure, Nicole, how you're all selling your beef or meat, but direct to consumer is one thing, but do you take it to a farmer's market? Are you needing maybe more of a shout out on your package kind of thing? But are there resources that she could tap into that you can think of?
Nicole, is it like vacuum sealed or something like that? Essentially,
Yeah, it's all frozen and vacuum sealed, and we do individual cuts,
mhm.
one per package. So pretty plain packaging to me, but I don't know how else to change it.
Well, your logo could also be black and white, right?
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, as an initial phase, and as you grow beyond, consumer direct or direct shipments, or that's fine. With Grandma's Frozen Noodles, we did put together a concept, and we that was a meal, a complete meal, and we actually identified Tim T Meats in Denver. They had capabilities to do more than just vacuum sealed, and if they could do like a box, like for frozen box with individual ingredients bagged. So maybe at some point as you grow, there's other contract packers that you can deal with that have more packaging flexibility. And, Barb did this webinar, gosh, 2 or 3 months ago, with packaging companies. So, and when you get a little bit further along, the resources that Colorado Proud has are really incredible. Lots of suppliers. We've been doing this for years. We started Colorado Proud around the year 2000. So that's a good resource for you. If you have any questions, just, reach out.
Well, and thinking about, as you're getting your brand going or even revitalizing it, maybe, maybe freshening it up, if you will, social media is going to be important, right, John? And is there any advice maybe, as Jen gets started and Nicole is already started, but maybe there's things there that as you think about walking through branding and getting your brand out there that they should consider?
Oh, absolutely. And it's just even working with some of these local wineries, and I've worked with a lot of food companies too, but the whole consumer direct opportunity is huge, right? So you, like in the wine business, you have wine clubs, and you have pickup parties, and you have events that you can do, create the experience. And obviously, social media, I mean, that's how most companies advertise these days. And there's not a lot of traditional media out there until you get to, real, national brand status. So you guys are probably more familiar with some of that than I am. And although I'm not unfamiliar, but yeah, that's a really good cost-effective way to create awareness, leading to trial, to repeat. And, so what I call that is the brand development cycle, right? You start with awareness, you gain trial, which I showed you is very important in terms of getting people into your brand so they can repeat. And that's how you build your business. But, always think about awareness and trial constantly. It's a good question. Yeah.
I had a question back to the trademark stuff. Are you encouraging us to trademark our business name or just our products and our logos?
Yeah, your product name, essentially your brand. Because if you look at, I can go back and share with you, but if you go back to, for example, if you look at packaging on the shelf, right, you're going to see a brand name. They're going to say, distributed by, produced by, whatever. That's, yeah, your business name is not critical. So if you go to the trademark search system, you'll be able to drill down. You'll see what the actual business names are, but those are all brand names.
Okay. I was just thinking like I guess I'm not good and educated about brands and stuff. So I thought our business name was our brand name.
Oh yeah,
then
well
there's
it
another
can be. I
Mountain.
mean,
It could
yeah.
be.
So what is your business name?
Well, it's Mountain View Meats,
Mhm.
which is under our other business, Mountain View Feeders. But there's also other Mountain View Meats out there, and like there's even one in Oklahoma that I noticed has the same tagline as we do. I didn't even know that. It just happened to be like that. So I didn't know how that conflicts when we have the same name and even tagline, but I don't know if they're registered.
Yeah, well, I would search that. Just do what I just demonstrated and search. I think you're under the radar right now. You're selling direct to consumers. I don't think you have much to worry about, as Mountain View Meats. But as you grow, and especially if you go out of state, you're really going to be really careful. So yeah, you're Mountain View Meats right now, but as you develop some of those cuts and you determine what really is unique about yourself, that's going to lead to a brand name. And at that point, that's when I think you trademark. But at this point right now, you're like I said, you're under the radar. You're selling direct to consumers locally, and I don't see that as a real issue.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
funny. A mountain view in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It means
They're
right.
looking west towards our Rockies is what
You're
they're
like,
doing.
okay, no, that's an interesting question because
Well, it was interesting when I was trying to get a website domain name,
yep.
and Mountain View Meats is taken, abbreviated is taken, and so I had to get creative on to get my own domain name. So
Yeah, it's once you get into brand names, it can be a little bit frustrating, okay? Because just about all the good names have already been taken. And this is just going through this with the Arizona folks. This is exactly what we came up against. Um, but really you really latch on to that real direction you want to move into. Use that benefit laddering exercise to, unlock, what that real benefit is, that emotional benefit, and then start, ideating, brainstorming, potential names. But yeah, all the good names are taken. You're gonna find that. You just have to look for variations. And when it comes to file a trademark work with your attorney to find out what's the least risky approach, right? That protects you. And you don't want to go up against, Hormel, for example, right? No, yeah, they'll have you in court before you know it. So well, you wouldn't even get that far. They'd give you a nice, heat-seeking, missile from their general counsel. So
A cease and desist.
you don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting a new brand, takes there's a lot of risk, and it takes money, and you want to eliminate that risk. You want to take it step by step, and grow and then expand, grow and then expand. Go slow, do it right, prove the proposition first. Yeah.
When you think about maybe revitalizing, refreshing, getting a new image for your brand, how I imagine the process starts similarly, and then when do you suggest people do that?
Yeah, usually what happens is the brand starts losing momentum,
Okay.
right? And when I was telling you, what the brand development cycle is, it's awareness, trial, repeat, and franchise development. But over a period of time, there's something called repeat decay.
Mm-hmm.
And you start losing consumers, customers from your brand. Your sales start to drop. There may be new entrants in the market that are kind of encroaching on your positioning. That maybe they have a price advantage over you. Maybe your cost of goods is too high. You really have to, these are all wake-up calls for you. And then you really need to just do a deep down and dirty assessment of, everything, your marketing, your marketing, your marketing elements, your price points, your promotion, your packaging, those four P's of marketing, right? The most important P of marketing, which is always neglected, is positioning. So, your positioning should be, pretty durable, sustainable, but it'll have to change over time too, based on competitive pressures. So you'll find out, Barb, they'll find out, as soon as those sales start to drop, or, you're losing distribution, and, there's reasons for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And with maybe a revitalization, what do you recommend? A new tagline, a new image, something like that to kind of draw people in again, or
yeah, in the consumer packaged goods space. So we're talking like grocery stores, for example, and not everybody's going to be just marketing to grocery stores. A lot of that has to do with shelf impact, like I just shared, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's typically packaging. But again, look at your price points. Look at the competition. Look at your trade practices when you get to that level. Okay. If you're in a farmer's market situation, Jen, I mean, look at your competitors. How are they marketing themselves? What kind of experience, are they communicating, or what kind of experience, are they demonstrating? At a farmer's market, a lot of that it's just, the experience you get, the signage, what draws, people wandering around, the park to get to your booth, so, and every step of the way. Mm-hmm.
No, that's great advice. And I was just thinking, because, you and I talked a little bit and Jen brought it up about consistency. And I think we don't want to confuse our customers sometimes, right? Like,
No.
oh, is this new? Wait a minute. What happened to the old one? Get a little.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've worked on some brands. I remember one time when I was working at Coors.
Mhm.
Okay, this goes back a few years, but it was very competitive in the beer wars. And Coors had this product called Coors Banquet, okay,
Yep.
which was the first beer they ever came out with in the yellow can,
Mm.
right? And it was essentially, a cold filtered, beer, and it was, kind of made in a traditional draft style. Well, Miller came out with a draft product, and they put it right on their label. And the folks at Coors
Mm.
immediately panicked. They said, "Hey, they just stole our idea. They've taken our positioning that we've had for over 100 years, and now they own it. So
Mhm.
we got to respond. We got to respond fast, right?" So they did some packaging research with the words original draft.
Mm.
And what they did is, and then they shared those new packaging concepts with consumers, and, comparing those concepts, those design ideas to the original Banquet beer can.
Mhm.
And not surprisingly, consumers said, "Oh, we like this original draft, design better." So the company said, "Okay, we're going to move in this direction. We're going to change the Banquet label to original draft." And they did. And the day after they introduced it to their distributors, their sales dropped
Yeah.
25%. 25%. Consumers were confused. It was a new product, but
Yeah.
what happened to Banquet?
Right.
They
Yeah.
used packaging research that just, between choice A, choice B, to make a strategic decision that cost the company just a ton of money. And eventually they pulled that and they went back to their Banquet, positioning. And in
Mhm.
fact, they even made it more retro, more heritage-like in their new packaging. So they regrouped, but they never regained the volume that they had lost.
Oh, wow.
And you can see it like with, Bud Light, and some of what they've done recently in terms of, how they essentially reposition their target audience through
Mhm.
social media. So you got to be really careful about that when you make those changes. But, the brand itself should be fairly consistent. You can add to it with different product line extensions, just like you saw with Centennial Cellars,
Mhm. Mhm.
with canned wines, premium canned wines, wine spritzers as you grow. But you guys are going to grow slowly
Mhm.
and smartly.
Well, and probably for a lot of our Colorado Proud members, you're the face of your brand, so people know
Oh yeah.
you.
Oh,
So hopefully they
absolutely.
won't get confused. But
No.
that, I could see a big corporation. I think we all remember New Coke
Oh,
and that interesting challenge years
yeah,
ago.
same thing. But just always remember your consumer. Your consumer is always right.
Yeah.
The positioning you up with, it only has meaning if it resonates with the consumer. It's all about them. It's not about you. And some of these tools I think can help you out in that area. And I'm always like, what kind of tools that don't cost you a lot of money that you can do
Mhm.
yourself to get you going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to hire a bunch of experts, not at this stage.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. Jen, Nicole, anything else you'd like to run past John? And you could certainly reach out to him. John, if you could just share your email again.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can just pull that up again. Well, you had that at the very beginning. Let's see. Oop, did that again. There you go. So email John at Brandwerx Group. I spelled it a little bit differently,
Mhm.
so please note that. You can always call me, whatever. So
Yeah.
And you can always reach out through Barb and she can, and of course, like I said before, Colorado Proud has a whole list of available resources for you. And so.
Well, thank you. That was great. And it was a lot of fun to kind of have a smaller group so we could really pick your brain on stuff. I appreciate that. And Jen and Nicole, thank you for taking time to join us. And, really don't hesitate if there's something we can do for you at the Colorado Department of Agriculture to connect you with. And certainly we'll connect you with John if you need that. And just want to thank you guys. And thinking ahead, our next podcast for Colorado Proud members is going to be part 3 of 4, where we're looking at marketing on a budget. And in this episode, we'll be looking at how to make social media and influencers a key part of your marketing plan. That should be pretty exciting. And then our next webinar will be March 19th. And March is Beef Month here in Colorado.
All right.
And so we are going to have the Colorado Beef Council, as well as some ranchers, to talk about resources and perspectives out there as Beef Month kicks off and kind of what we can all expect out there. So I want to thank you guys and have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.
Jen, Nicole, thank you. Jen, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the farmer's market. And Nicole, looking forward to trying your beef.
All right, thank